Hey everybody, this is Chris. I'm really excited to travel to Pittsburg, Pennsylvania to visit John Malecki as part of my Hot Air from the Dragon Chair interview series. All right, you ready?
Yeah.
Hey everybody, this is Chris. I'm here for another edition of Hot Air from the Dragon Chair interview series. I'm in Pittsburg, Pennsylvania with John Malecki. John, thanks for having me.
Chris, pleasure to be here, man.
It's awesome to be here. I think this chair was made for you.
Yeah, it's literally the perfect size.
It is.
Typically, I'm like squatting somewhat, or people will tell me that like I make the chair look like a child's chair, but there's no chance I'm making this thing look like a kid's chair.
That's awesome, man. I always start with a couple standard questions, so I wanted to start out with, so how did you get into woodworking and YouTube and the whole scene?
Yeah, so one thing unique to me and you is that we both come from football backgrounds, right?
Yeah.
So for me, I was playing football actually professionally up until 2013, and in that time I broke a coffee table. By me, I mean the people I lived with while I was gone broke my coffee table, and I wanted a new one.
Is that a good story in and of itself?
No, because I don't know, because they lied about it.
Okay.
I mean, and it was IKEA furniture, so obviously
Okay.
it was crap. But
Yeah.
like, I get home and I need a new coffee table. A friend of mine had this like really cool old door on like, it was on wine barrels, and I wanted to do something similar. And after I started looking around, I found like this website with woodworking plans on it to make your own coffee table. So I said, screw it, I'm handy. I come from like a blue collar family, use power tools. I'm gonna make my own. So I ended up making my own coffee table, and then, a workbench for the garage I was living in, and then a piece for a friend, and then another friend. And I picked up this hobby and started accumulating tools. And that was in my last year of playing football. And after that, I just like, when I got cut for the last time, I took a break from like the real world and was just building, whatever anyone was asking me for on Facebook. So started doing that. That's when I hopped on Instagram and started putting more stuff out there. And when I came time to like actually needing to sustain my living,
yeah.
I just started selling my furniture, and in that started building up like an Instagram following, and I learned like almost all of what I know from YouTube. So I just one day was like, I'm gonna start a YouTube channel, and had people asking and whatnot. So I put a couple videos out and just started going down that rabbit hole of YouTube and whatnot. So that's been about like, that'll be 3 years come January that I've been on YouTube. And in that time I've kind of morphed from like a custom furniture maker, and I do a lot of custom work here in Pittsburgh, and I've been doing that for the past 4 or 5 years now, and I've been morphing more to just producing content full time, and that's kind of been where my focus has been the past, I would say, 6 to 10 months of what I'm doing right now.
We met in Atlanta like a year and a half ago, maybe.
Yeah.
And you were just
like 2 years.
You were just a pup back then, just getting into the business. And I was even telling you how to set up your search terms, but your channel and your Instagram has just exploded. So and that's great. So tell me about what you think you've done to really grow your channel so quickly.
Social media and content production is very fickle. It's like a very like double-edged sword, right? And all of us that are trying to do this are essentially just trying to provide value to an audience. Mm-hmm. And for me, I think my channel growth has solely come from the fact that like I try to be very ambitious and not scared of anything. Like I try new skills and I make whatever, and people enjoy it. And what I've noticed is that like I'm a younger person in the demographic. I'm 30 years. I just turned 30, and like a lot of the community is a lot of older men and women who have been trained in shop class or taken a class, or like they learned these skills when they were younger, and it's just progressed, and now they're on YouTube. And I was just like, screw it, I'll learn how to weld and put it on YouTube, or I'll do a little leather work and put it on YouTube. Like, and I think my channel and the attention it's garnered has come from like that aspect of not fearing anything, mm-hmm. and then coming from like a completely different world is like all of my knowledge and experiences in professional sports, college sports, and like I have a business degree and nothing prior to that. Like I literally don't know anything else. So being self-taught and all that stuff, I try to inspire younger people to get into woodworking and furniture making and making in general, because I think it's a dying trait in the younger generations, and I think people are catching on to that, and they kind of enjoy my energy and what I bring to the table, as far as being this like big bumbling kind of idiot that like just goes through these ambitious projects and comes out the other end with something that happens to actually work or function and what it's supposed to be doing. And I think people dig that. They enjoy it. They find it entertaining.
Now, what type of videos do you make? Do you specialize in anything? You said furniture, but what else do you try and get into?
It's mostly been furniture. My goal for the channel is to get into a little bit more entertainment and education, like joined in a little more vloggy style. Get a lot of questions and feedback on like the custom side of things, because a lot of people would like to be selling their stuff and making an extra couple bucks with their hobby or their side hustle, as we like to call it. So I've been producing and making custom furniture for clients and making videos around that. As I try to morph to doing more just content specifically, I've been taking just a little bit more ambitious ideas and turning those into projects. Something that may not be perfect for a general client, but it's still like, cool and would look good on the internet and show you some skills and inspire you to maybe try one part of this or one part of that kind of thing. And then I've done a couple, like, we got the Thor hammer sitting here. I try to do some cool, fun stuff that's a little bit different.
That's pretty awesome.
I want to get into, I just want to get into inspiring more people to try to make something on their own. Because like all my friends and whatnot, they're like very unfamiliar with power tools or very unfamiliar with making anything. And then they don't have the skill sets to fix a faucet or, do something on their vehicle and whatnot. And it's a shame because my dad, like, those were things he passed down to me. If something breaks, fix it.
Right.
And I think that the lack of attention to the trades or lack of attention to having those skills is something that younger people need to get into. So I just want to show, that you can basically do anything if you are willing to put your mind to it. A couple bucks in tools maybe, or finding someone who has the tools you can borrow them from, or whatever it might be. And whether that's in furniture making or doing something in your house, or maybe getting into metal work or whatever it might be. So that's kind of the goal for my channel and here going into the future.
That's great. Have you done anything in the community to encourage people to get into the trades, or do any things here in Pittsburgh?
Kind of yes and no. So I am a big supporter of the veteran community, and I try to do what I can there to help support any veterans dealing with PTSD or trying to get into something to help with those specific situations. And Lincoln Electric has helped me out. They're one of my brand sponsors in doing that, and I got some videos and stuff. You can check that out if you're looking into it. So that's kind of been a focus of mine, and as next year continues, there's a couple brands that I work with that have started to make a little bit more of a push to that, inspiring the youth to get into the trades. So I'm hoping to do some more work with them there. I am moving shops to a 2,500 square foot facility where I potentially would like to be doing more classes.
That's great.
And some more stuff on the weekends to show, because I get tons of people asking if I can, and I'm like, not in here, like this place is too crammed. So that's something I definitely want to be doing in the future.
You talked about Lincoln Electric as one of the brands that you work with. Mm-hmm. How have you approached the whole sponsorship thing? Again, you're very new to the industry, but you've made a lot of progress already from a business standpoint, and I see you involved with brands. So what's your philosophy, and how did you start with that, and how are you proceeding with that?
So the way I got started was just reaching out, and I was looking for brands that I specifically liked and enjoyed working with. For me, I think that's majorly important. There's so many companies trying to get into the advertising with influencers or micro influencers that it can become overbearing, and there's the integration aspect, which would be like essentially tool companies that we're using, and then there's the ad space spectrum of things where it's just whomever put up an ad, and that's kind of the sponsor you're looking for on whatever content it is. For me, I was reaching out at the beginning to brands that I was specifically working with and passionate about, Lincoln being the first one. And I kind of reached out to them because I learned how to weld on a Lincoln welder. And I got in a conversation on Twitter with someone who worked at Lincoln, and they happened to be a Steelers fan, and we were chatting, blah, blah, blah. Hooked me up with a helmet, and it absolutely changed welding for me because I could actually see.
Makes a difference.
So from there, we just kept, kind of conversation going and working together. And as I started becoming more of an influencer, focusing on that, we were able to, create this brand relationship together where I'm adding value to them as well as, they supplement me with machines and we do events and whatnot. So that's a perfect example of a brand that I actually loved that I was able to work with. From there, I just started approaching other brands that I was working with as well, and seeing how I could add value to my community. I'm not someone who just takes whatever dollar signs thrown at me by a company solely because they're offering it. Like I like to try to float in like that prosumer space where I don't like to use cheap things because I'm a big idiot who breaks a lot of stuff, and cheap things break quicker. Yeah. So I try to inspire people to be better, like try to progress your skill set, try to be a better person or a better builder or whatever you're doing. Like you can't be complacent with where you are, and that comes from my sports background. So those are the brands that I approach. If I see a brand's doing a great job that I work with of improving their tools or their marketing or their message or whatever, like those are the ones I'm more drawn to. And the way social works these days and my following on Instagram and whatnot, I can essentially just reach out on there and see if I can gain any attention with the right person and kind of work my way into talking to the person I need to see if there's anything there. The business itself is kind of morphed into that now, as I'm moving more away from custom work to being a content producer, and that hustle in itself is a whole nother end of the spectrum where you're doing way more computer work and stuff than you would ever expect, especially dealing with these massive brands. Right. But it's fun, it's enjoyable, it's something I've liked. It's a lot of work. Like a lot of people don't realize that working with brands and being like a paid brand endorser on YouTube and the internet is a ton of work. You have a lot of accountability to these companies, and all of us want to win for them. We want to be doing a great job for whatever they're paying us for. So to do so, you got to put the time in, and you may only see a 5 to 10 minute video on YouTube, but there's hours and hours and hours of work going into that kind of stuff.
So what have you done to help with your time management then? Because you're very busy with custom furniture work, with the brand sponsorship, with the travel that you do, the support you do in the community. So what do you do to better manage all that time, or you just work 15 hours a day? Yeah,
well, essentially that. I mean, it's a minimum 12-hour day every day, but when you do something you like, it's not that bad. Like we're here, it's a weekend. Like this is work. Right. Like, so this is cool, right? Yeah. So to manage my time, I've got a podcast with a buddy of mine, Brad Rodriguez from Fix This Build That, and it's called Made for Profit, and we talk about business in the shop. And time management is a big aspect of that. For me, I hired a business coach about 3 years ago, 2.5 years ago, and time management was one of like the early things we worked on. So for me, I have a meeting with myself every Monday at 9:30 in the morning, and it's on my schedule, and I sit down and I just break down my week into what I'm going to be doing. That way I have blocks of time that are designated to certain things. And for someone like myself, and as you probably know, coming from sports, you're handed an itinerary every day almost. That's like, be here, do this, go to the bathroom at this time, you get to eat at this time. And like, you essentially don't even have to think, right? You just function pertaining to that itinerary. And I do very well in that. Like I love a regimented itinerary. If I go somewhere, I'm begging for itineraries, right? So I try to do that to myself and then hold myself accountable to it. And that helps me with time management a lot. So I'll break down like a day, for instance, we record the podcast on Tuesday. So like from 8 a.m. till 10 a.m. when we start recording, computer work's blocked out, and then podcasting's blocked out, and then more computer work's blocked out. And that way I'm not like jumping back and forth to answering emails while I'm in the shop or answering phone calls. I schedule things in blocks. If I'm getting phone calls, I'm putting you all Thursday morning between 10 a.m. and noon. That way I'm not going to be stopping something I'm doing, being productive, and going back to it. So little things like that help me manage my time. I've actually hired someone to shoot and edit my photos and videos and all that good stuff now. So I'm able to take that off my plate where I can really focus on being more creative and creating better product and actually getting in the shop and making stuff too. And that takes time and a lot of commitment, and it's kind of terrifying, but in that, I mean, if you want to run a real business, you can't do it all on yourself, or it's not an actual business. Right. There's got to be parts in there that can still make you money when you're not actually working. So time management is, I'm a big fan of, so I call that block scheduling. And I'm a big fan of sitting down with yourself, blocking out specific periods of time during the day for what you're doing. And that goes down to everything like lunch. Like lunch is blocked out. Do whatever you want while you eat lunch, but that's when you stop what you're doing. So your mind doesn't have to think about like, oh my God, did I eat today? Like, okay, I'll do it after this. Because when you're distracted from what you're doing, your work suffers. Right. And so I try to eliminate all of that and all of the the worry that goes into the other things happening. So that's how I get a lot of stuff done. And then I don't go to bed until 11 o'clock and get up at 6. So those are ways that you can easily pick up an extra couple hours in the day by eliminating I call it like the fat in your typical schedule.
How are you laying out your projects? Like, do you know your next 5 or 6 projects, or how do you decide what you're going to do?
Pretty much up until like the past 2 months, I've had no clue. Like, I just make it up as I go.
Okay.
And a couple of the sponsors I work with are great that they'll like work together with me on an idea. I'm fortunate that I bought a house a year and a half ago that needs a ton of crap done to it. So, 100-year-old home here in Pittsburgh, you know, you're looking at all kinds of repairs, and I obviously want to remodel and make everything mine. So I'm able to take those ideas and concepts and build them into my content production now, which is really cool. I just did a mantle for my fireplace out of a 100-year-old beam, which was really cool. I did some hidden storage in that. A little different project. The end table that I just made is for my living room, coffee table for my living room, you know, doing some built-ins that are behind us for my master bedroom. So I've got a schedule of those projects. And then something will fall in like here and there. That'll be like a cool little opportunity. I had a client call this week. She was looking for a coffee table. She's a former client, so I try to keep those relationships going. Sure. So I whipped together a coffee table in a day from an old drop of a slab that I had, welded a base, and it was kind of like a one-day build type thing. And so those things will just pop up, or whatever, and I'll get them done. What I typically find is that there's so much inspiration out there that if I don't have a plan, I get like frazzled with all the stuff that's happening, and then I'll see someone do something cool and I want to do it, and then like I don't know how, or I won't have time. So I've actually taken a step back to try to be like, okay, we're doing a built-in this week, and then we're doing doors next week, and then we're doing a bed the week following, and then we'll do another dining table, and then we'll do, so I'm just trying to, I'm trying to like piece out.
Some of these builds are pretty big then.
Yeah, I mean,
do you have anybody helping you, or are you doing it all yourself?
So I had a buddy of mine, Buck, who was in the shop for the past year with custom work, but now bringing on the video guy, no, just back to me. Okay. Which is fine because, as you know, like, it takes a ton of time to run a video camera around while you're building stuff. And if you could take that time away and have someone else who's actually a pro do that efficiently, you get that time back, and I actually can build things quickly because I'm not moving a camera around every 4 minutes to get a shot. So the bigger things, like I'm doing a 7-foot dining table with a concrete top that I have planned. Like that'll be an ambitious project, and I might need to call a couple people to carry it. And I've done that in the past, but for me at the moment, I'm trying to make sure the projects are things that I can do on my own, and as well as like incorporating the growth and skill set. That's one thing I've been disappointed with myself for the past 2 years, is that I haven't really put time into focusing on growing my skills in woodworking. Welding, I got progressively better, took some classes on TIG welding and welding stainless and all this kind of stuff. But woodworking, I haven't like sat down to take the time to learn to hand cut dovetails, or like why you want to properly sharpen your tools, or what the difference in a crosscut saw compared to a tenon cutting saw, like all that kind of stuff. So I've taken a step back and tried to do a lot more reading and skill development and that kind of stuff, so I can start incorporating it into projects, and not just become like a mundane, I use the domino joiner for everything, which is great, but like I want to get better as a woodworker. So I'm trying to take a step back to where I can just do those little bit of projects on my own, and then I can work on skills and stuff too. Right.
You've started your 12-hour day today. So what are you doing after this amazing interview?
So after I'm done relaxing in this amazing chair, I'm going up to the woods. I've got a chainsaw mill, and I've got a downed hickory tree on my girlfriend's parents' property.
How big around is it?
The base is 36 inches. Wow. So some big old slabs are going to come out of that thing.
You can make some nice bows out of that too, just so you know.
And handles. Handles, Like there's a ton of handles are made from hickory, I think. Yep. So it's a beautiful wood. If you guys, I posted some photos on my Instagram last week. A lot of people thought it's got a lot more of the dark coloring in it that you get in hickory, but it's typically kind of splotchy. Yeah. And it's very white. This is a very dark hickory tree, so very beautiful. And I was like super excited. And this sawmilling stuff is so fulfilling. Like when you're in the shop a ton, like I have no natural light in here, so it's like it's like a dungeon essentially, and that draws on you. I've been in here for 2 years, and getting outside, working in the sunlight, even if it's raining like it is today, like I'm excited for it. So I'm gonna go mill some slabs. I'll get up tomorrow. I'll mill as many more as I can in the morning before the Steeler game, and then call it a day for Sunday. And
what are you gonna do with that then?
So I'm going to dry it up. I talked to Matt Cremona and a couple other people in the area that do some slab work and stuff. And I'm gonna try to use it in my furniture and content down the line. You know,
awesome.
What's great is that when you're producing content, you can do a lot of the creative things that you want to try out. And if I can do it with lumber that's free to me, you know, I can mess up and screw up and not worry about burning dollars on purchasing hardwoods and whatnot. But that's like 2 years from now when that stuff's actually dry.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's terrific. So you said you're getting a new shop.
This shop is one of my best friends growing up. I fell into this opportunity. He moved back home after being in Florida for 10 years. His family's owned this building, and their business is, if you could see around it, there's a lot of other tools and stuff that you probably noticed in my content if you follow me that aren't mine. So he had just about 1,000 square feet in here he wasn't using. He's like, hey, if you want to rent it off me, I'd love to have you. So we worked out a price, and I got an office inside, and it's been great. But their business is progressing, and he's looking to sell the building. So they actually got an offer on it, and I've been hunting around for a while for something new, and I realized I essentially have a metalworking and a woodworking shop, and then as most of us have, is having any supplies on hand takes up tons of space in a shop. So I got like a quarter of my shop goes to a quarter of that 1,000 square feet goes to lumber storage, you can see over there, and then like another quarter towards the metalworking stuff, and then half of it towards the woodworking stuff. So I'm pretty much maxed out on space capacity in here for the stuff I want to do. I found a bigger shop that I'm going to be splitting and have a little bit of a showroom with a buddy of mine who does vintage goods and whatnot. So just a cool opportunity. It's in a really up and coming part of the city, and I'm really looking forward to it. It has a couple windows, which is great. 4 bay doors, four garage doors, which we'll be able to open up when the weather's nice. And then I'm working with a couple sponsors right now on lighting it up properly so my videos don't look all dark and grainy as they have for the past 2 years. Yeah, so I'm super stoked. The increase in space is going to be really nice, and then I'm, like I said, potentially, hoping to have some people that want to come out and learn a couple skills come out to the shop.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So let's start winding this down because you got to go cut some wood, and I want to get in your way. So what's like your next couple projects going to be?
Wow, looking back on it now, out of the couple hundred projects I've built, nothing of it's ever been for me, for the most part. So the past couple things, concrete table, end table, that beam I was talking about, those are mine. So I'm doing a couple home builds. I'm finishing a small renovation on my master bedroom. Got some like built-ins coming out, and then doors for a closet. I'll build out the closet, and then I'll do the bed for the room and kind of like wrap that whole room up. And that should get me through the end of the year. And then possibly some like smaller projects in the shop that might do like a little more on the skill side of things, like this is how to, like use brazing or something, and supplement the bigger stuff going on, because I'm going to try to move the shop here in the next 2 months. So getting out of the shop and getting into the house gives me the opportunity to like, move this and not have everything there. I can have all of my like portable tools in the house.
Okay. John, when I came up with the interview series Hot Air from the Dragon Chair, you are like the epitome of like, you're the easiest interview I've ever had. Like, that was awesome, man. So
no, this is great. I've done a few, as you know, like coming from sports, they just 16 years old, like get in front of the camera. All right, I gotta learn how to do it. So I enjoy doing interviews. One weird part about our community is that we're all digitally connected, and we don't get to be in front of each other very often. So it's always nice to actually be able to shake a hand and sit down and chat it up.
Well, thank you so much for letting me come today, and I look forward to seeing your new shop. And I'll put all his contact information in the description section, and please subscribe to John's channel as mine as well. And take care. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah, thank you.
Awesome, man.
This is great.
Yeah, this is awesome.
So this is staying, right?
If you want it, just make a donation.